That last step in the VM lifecycle, VM retirement, is a key step. We found very few organizations that effectively do this today, and it's critical in private cloud implementations where these self-service portals can greatly increase the number of VMs created and the speed at which they're created. So without a way to reclaim those resources when they're no longer being used, you'll end up having to throw more and more new resources at your private cloud to meet the demands of the applications running in it. Instead, you should be reclaiming those resources from VMs that have outlived their useful life and redeploying them to new workloads or to existing workloads that need those resources to continue performing optimally. If you use Commvault tools to provision the virtual machine and set an expiration date at the time that you created it, this helps a lot with the problem because you've been proactive. But what about your existing VM sprawl problem that predates any provisioning that you've done through the Commvault Web Console? Or even VMs that were created through the Commvault Web Console that didn't have an expiration date tied to them? Well, we've got a great answer for that. The Commvault VM archiving tool is a groundbreaking innovation that helps you eliminate the sprawl with a phased approach to VM retirement. First, we allow administrators to configure different thresholds for CPU, network, and/or storage I/O, or any combination of these three metrics to determine if a virtual machine has become idle or stale. What we can do is take one first step. We can automatically power down that virtual machine and leave it sitting. And so by doing that, we're automatically saving CPU memory and network resources. And then, after you've powered that down, if somebody comes screaming and saying, "Why did you power down my virtual machine?" Well, all you have to do is just power it back on. No harm, no foul, you're back up and running really quickly. However, if, as in most cases, this virtual machine is powered down and you figure out, it sits there for a period of time and nobody comes asking you to power it back on, well, why is it sitting over here on Tier 1 resources? We can automate the process of moving that virtual machine, that powered down virtual machine, off to Tier 2. It's still sitting over here, it's powered down, still available in your virtualization management console, but it's sitting on Tier 2 resources. I've reclaimed some Tier 1 disk to redeploy to an application that needs it. Then, still, I have the flexibility if somebody comes and says, "I need this virtual machine turned back on," you can either power it right back up here, so I can power that virtual machine on here, have it up and running in no time, or I can migrate it back to Tier 1 storage and power it up there. However, most of the time, once a virtual machine hasn't been used long enough to be moved out to that tier, it's not going to be used again. So if that's the case, and you've got this virtual machine sitting over here, it's been sitting here for, let's say, at Tier 2 for like 90 days, I can then use Symfony VM archiving to move that powered down virtual machine over here to an archival layer or a cold storage layer. So in that process, I'm moving it off of spinning disk out to this tier of storage and out of my backups. So I'm no longer backing this up every night, and so I'm saving some storage resources by moving it out to cold storage. Then still, we've in the process of archiving this VM, we've created a stub that sits in vCenter or whatever your VM management tool is, and so this VM that's powered off and sitting over here on cold storage is still visible, and all I've got to do to bring it back if somebody needs it is I've got to go into the Symfony web console and restore the VM back over to this tier storage, to Tier 1 storage, and power it back on. However, again, if this VM sits here for a long time on the archival tier, let's say it sits there for 30, 60, 90 days, maybe even longer, depending on what your organizational policies are. If you don't have to keep that around forever for compliance or something, then we can set automatic policies to age that virtual machine off and reclaim those storage resources entirely.